All right, it's open mic night. You know what that means? It's your night to sound off next. All right, welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And tonight, per usual, Wednesday night, it is your night to sound off. And we've got a regular caller who's not going to be able to call in tonight. Holden, thoughts and prayers are with you, man. Hopefully everything's okay out there. Hopefully your neighbors and family and everything is safe. Says you won't be able to call in tonight. Tornado knocked out the power. But Debo is not a top 3 wideout as much as I love the guy. Well, all right. So if you look at the thumbnail, it is Debo. I'm asking if he's a top 3 wide receiver. That is one of the conversations that I just had with Grant, among many other conversations. But I think Debo, when you encompass everything all in, he is top 3. He was 5th in overall receiving yards last year. He was 3rd in all purpose yards, not just for receivers, but for every player across the league. So I think Debo, for what he brings to the table, is he the best pure receiver? No, there's probably 8 to 10 guys, maybe more, that might be better pure quote unquote receivers. But as a football player that plays receiver, Debo's top 3. And I think that he's set the tone to be that. And when you get respect from a guy like Jalen Ramsey that agrees with that, man, that's a tough argue. This is a guy who covers the best in the league on a regular basis, and he's telling you he's top 3. I agree with him. I gotta agree with him. All right, let's get this banner over here. We'll do this. We'll bring in not Korean 49er. He's not going to start it off tonight. Jackass Penguin was first.
Oh, wow. If I'm first.
Jackass Penguin, and you were the first to do so. What's up, man?
Oh, man. It's all the same, huh? I feel like I kind of withdrew from this whole offseason because I think last time I messaged you, I was like, yeah, we know he's coming back. We know Jimmy's coming back. And until he's off this team, I still think he's going to start. And I don't care how pessimistic that sounds. That's just what this is. But now, I mean, what an amazingly, disappointing offseason this has been, man. It's just I was listening, I think it was like last night that you had your show, you're talking about the Bay Area media, and I'm from the Bay Area, and I can tell you that it's just you're absolutely right. Like there's not enough Larry Krugers, even though I disagree with some of the stuff you said in the past. I mean, they need more of those, and it's asinine and it's frustrating to kind of hear that line of questioning all the time, and it's just like, they just all come off as like just these shills, and it is weird. It's a weird place to be because I don't know, just how everything is played out with this. Even before Lance was drafted, the whole thing was just a weird. It's a weird thing. Like the coverage of this team is like unlike anything I've seen in sports, right? And it's just it's odd. It's for such a storied franchise, that had such a stark, comparison, in the 80s and 90s to now. It's like what's going on here? So, but no, it's asinine. I know everyone's always sick of talking about Garoppolo, but here we are because they haven't done anything with Garoppolo and he's still on the roster. So how do we change subject if it's the big subject that is the only real thing that has made the difference of winning the Super Bowl and not? Like, I don't care how many times we're going to talk about the O-line. The O-line was pretty good last year. So it's just, considering, and it's amazing how the spin, it's just kind of like it goes through those phases, those predictable phases. I'm like, this is exactly why I kind of took a step back, because I used to love like all these topics and even tuning in your show, and it's not your fault, but it's just like I couldn't do it. I couldn't watch this free agency and the whole thing, the way it went down, I'm just like, this is so bad. This is so embarrassing that you can misfire this badly. Um, and just that whole thing, like, just, I mean, the injury thing is like, just stop about the injury. Nobody wanted him anyway. And yes, sure, it probably did take a couple teams out of their interest down, but it's amazing, man. It's amazing how bad this. I think that this the ego. They will not swallow their pride. They won't do that at all in this situation. They just and I don't know. Like I said, I'm probably more pessimistic than I know you guys have been breaking this down more, but just no, not me. I'm gonna be pessimistic till he's off this team. It's crazy, man.
Okay, let me give you a pass here because I think you're at where a lot of 49er fans are, right? And obviously having the show, I do interact with a lot of 49er fans, and I would say 99% are fantastic. Even if we disagree, they're very respectful. You have the trolls or whatever, but for the most part, everybody's pretty cool. And there is a wide range of opinions on this thing, but there certainly is a large segment. I would say a larger segment after what John Lynch said on, what was it, Tuesday? Was it? No, it was Monday when he spoke.
Mhm.
After John Lynch spoke, even the people that were pro, hey, the 49ers are doing the right thing, it's okay. As soon as John Lynch was done speaking, people went crazy. They lost their minds. And you can tell from the views that night on my channel because people were pissed. They're like, why is he still here? Why are they not telling us what's going on? They've flubbed the whole thing. What are they doing? Just so many ranges of emotion, from anger to frustration, what have you. But so I think that there's a large segment that feels the way that you do. And I'm just, I went into this offseason trying to be more optimistic about things than I was last offseason, right? I was big on Trey Lance. I was happy they got him. But there were a lot of moves that I did not agree with last year at all. And I was I spoke my mind about those things. This offseason, I said, all right, the 49ers, this is their sixth time doing this. I've got to trust that they know what they're doing. But I have to admit, this Jimmy Garoppolo thing is certainly making it tough to just roll with that. That being said, I think that they've gotten better, which is great. Now, have they gone all in? No, and that's because Jimmy's on the roster, and that's a legit complaint. I would also say that what Kyle Shanahan said yesterday to me put my mind at ease that Trey Lance is going to be the starter. So I'm no longer worried about who's going to start. I'm just worried about when, how, all those things. Like how are they going to get rid of Jimmy? Can they trade him? I don't believe so. Are they willing to cut him? I'm going to trust that they are, although that's hard to say when they've really messed up the quarterback position for, I don't know, 5 years now. Let's be real. So I just have to put faith in that eventually, if push comes to shove, they will cut this guy, um, and just try to take everything with a grain of salt and figure out, all right, where do they go in the draft? How do they maneuver here? And try to do it that way. Because if I just think and fester on this Jimmy Garoppolo thing, man, it'll eat you up for sure. So
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I was to be optimistic, the if it would be like, well, Gilmore hasn't signed anywhere, and I always forget how to actually pronounce his last name, Tyrann Mathieu.
Matthew,
Yeah, I why have they not signed it? Right, they're good players, and I don't understand that they're not like necessarily in their prime. They're probably a little past, right? But and I'm just thinking, but they especially Honey Badger. I'll say Honey Badger. It's easier for me.
hmm?
He's got those. He's a ball hunter, and that's exactly what they need. And I was just like, that's. It kind of makes sense. It's like, but do you have like a handshake deal with them? It's like we're trying to get rid of Jimmy at this. If we don't get get him rid at this certain time, then we'll cut him and then we'll sign you. Like that's to me that would be like, oh, maybe they are like behind the scenes actually preparing for this, but it's just hard to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's just so it's just yeah, it's just you can't trust it. It's just so like I don't know. And I I definitely feel better when Shanahan talks now. I never thought I would say that. I mean, we were having conversations about this in September or October. I'm like, what? I do feel better listening to him talk about it than Lynch. I can't anymore with John. I mean, just it's super nice guy. I don't know like why he talks half the time, and it's just I don't know. It's the whole thing is just a weird feeling. I would think they would want to use this time to use that cap space. And again, like, do they have these? Does Gilmore really want to be a Niner? Like, I don't know. Like, there's all these things where it's like they could have. I hate. I think earlier in this offseason, it was always like, well, the 49ers aren't spending and stuff like that. And at first, I was like, that's not true. They actually are spending a lot. They are pretty capped out, and they were like 13th in spending this offseason. But as the last month has gone by, that's dropped significantly. And it's like, well, because they can't do anything now. They're stuck now. So I don't know. That's just why this like the ebb and flow of this off season. It's just like I don't know. I don't know what to make of this team. You say they're better. Yeah, in some ways I think. I don't know. I think they're more of an unknown. I guess that's I just I think Sermon needs to play. I think for them to be better, I think that needs to happen. And Banks can't be a total bust. Like let's be honest, where he was drafted. Like, but again, it's all unknown. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know if they're definitively better. It's kind of frustrating to watch, and I've never seen such a mediocre. I don't even say that. I wouldn't even say he is at this point. A quarterback of his caliber. I'll just I guess say it that way. Caused so much roster chaos and restructures and ill-advised restructures, and it's like. I always hate that. It's just like, well, they have the options. They have the, the cap space if they wanted to. It's like, no, that's not how this works. That is not how football works. A restructure, yes, you always have the option. You can restructure any contract. That doesn't mean it's the right decision. And it's just, I don't know. The whole thing's weird to me. I don't understand why and especially how like I said, the media is, it's bothersome to me. And it's like, you're right. It's like, I think it was yesterday or the day before. I just, cause I always listen, by the way.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
You were saying it's like, you don't even really have to listen to these guys anymore. Like, those articles are pointless. And it's like, yeah, I know they're pointless. And it's just like, I don't know. I don't know why that has kind of happened there. I don't know if the Bay Area's always been that soft with media. I don't think in the early 2000s with the Giants it ever were. Man, Barry Bonds got the
ringer. He did.
Punch everybody. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know exactly what has happened, but it definitely, access journalism. It just seems like that's the thing. And obviously there's one that's in, I don't want to call them out specifically, but because I forget on the show if you guys do that or not. But I mean, it's just, there's just the nastiness. To fans, it's like, really? Like, you've been wrong about almost everything here, and then you just spin it like, oh, but this is the actual plan. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. It's just it's the weirdest industry, in my opinion. It's just like, how did this? What is this? And it's a strange place. Like I said, I'm not angry about it. I'm just like, this team is just, they just don't want to be like great. I don't know. They just don't want to pick I don't even really know if it's that. They've spent money. They just I just think that they're more worried about the embarrassment of losing a trade in the long run, and instead of freeing up that space, and which is asking who's going to pick up Jimmy Garoppolo right now if you release them. And if they did, what team is out there that he would like elevate to a playoff team? Like, what are we talking about?
Well, now, I mean, I think that's it's a little bit too late. Like,
right.
I mean, if they wait till, let's say, August to cut him, I mean, chances are he's just going to be a backup somewhere else. Like, it's either be a backup here or backup somewhere else. And so I don't know, man. Here's the thing. Again, I think that fans have every right to be frustrated that Jimmy's still here, right? And that they've played their hand wrong. I totally understand that. But I just want to put people's minds at ease. on who the starter is going to be. And for those of you who didn't see the show with Grant, I'm going to give you 2 quotes, and then Jackass Penguin, I'm going to let you go in just a second. But last year in May, Kyle Shanahan said, when asked about Trey Lance starting, he said, "Yeah, there's a chance for that at every single position on our team, and I think that would be really hard. Jimmy is a really good quarterback." All right. This year, when he's asked, that's why we looked into trading Jimmy, because
Yeah.
we obviously believe that Trey can be a starter and we are ready to do that. Now, he went on to quote and say, well, we think that's sooner than later. And he hemmed and hawed. But the very first thing out of his mouth was, yes, that's why we looked at trading Jimmy and we are ready to do that. That is the first things that he said. So, with that being said, if you listen to what was said last year versus what is being said this year, I think it is very, very clear that the plan is to go with Trey. And so, would it be frustrating if Jimmy hung around even as a backup? Sure. But if the ultimate goal is that you want to see Trey play and you want to see the team turned over to him, I think the question's already been answered. Right. And so for me, like that puts me at ease because I believe that he's told us, yes, Trey's going to be the starter.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely compared to last year. Yeah, I feel better with the quotes. I just think that the embarrassment and the ego is still there, and I think that that's what is basically what's going to prevent them from making a decision. And I think that that's really what kind of like has always been apparent with. I don't know if it's this regime, but just how they've handled Garoppolo. I think it's really just that feeling where it's just, do they really want to release him? Like, I don't know. I just don't think I think they would have done it already. I think they would have done it already. I just don't think there's this magical, I don't think there's this dark horse bottom feeding team that says, well, if we got Jimmy who just got off this injury, we're going to suddenly give you what you want. And they're just, I don't know. I don't see it happening. It's probably best if you got the pessimistic call out of the way first.
Oh no, you're not going to be the only one tonight. By the way, I can tell you, not only you, but the next two are probably going to go that route. Like, just these are people that are always speaking their mind, and whatever route people want to go. By the way, listen, I agree with it. Like, I understand the pessimism, right? Like, I understand being pessimistic about the whole situation, but I just want to throw the other side out there and say, listen, yes, but to me, like, as much as my frustration is with Jimmy being on the roster, which I'm more frustrated if he's there week 1, because I think that's a locker room issue. My biggest thing is the team going to be Trey's? And I feel like I've gotten that answer. I'm satisfied with the answer that we got yesterday. And so for me, at least for now, maybe in a week I'll feel different. But right now I'm kind of riding on cloud 9 saying, listen, Trey's finally going to be the guy. I really feel that way. I think Shanahan said that. And so for me, like, I'm good. Like, I'm cool with it. So that's kind of where I'm at. Jackass Penguin, thank you for kicking us off, man. I do have the line starting to pile up. I kind of let you go free reign instead of holding you to the 5 minutes, just to let people get in here. But now they are starting to pile up. So I want to make sure that I get to everybody. I appreciate you, man. We'll definitely be talking on Twitter, and you have a great night. All right.
You too.
All right, brother. All right. Spencer Bailey, $3. I didn't even know you could donate $3. I swear when I go to donate on people's things, it's like either $2, $5, 10, or 20. I don't know how people customize that, but I digress. Thank you for the $3. I appreciate you. He says, what do we draft with 61? Is it nickel or is it safety? I actually am going to go safety or edge. That would be my guess. I think if you look at the 49ers needs, they certainly need a safety. As long as Tart's not on this team, they still don't have a starter there. And edge, I mean, they love drafting defensive line, and they really could use a bona fide player opposite of Bosa. They have some good rotational guys. I don't think they have the permanent answer there. And if I look at the way that I think this draft is going to fall, I think that there's going to be 2 or 3 guys legitimately at both positions that are worthy of being drafted there. And so I think that's probably the route that they go. And then Aaron tapping in from 49ers First Takes. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate you always showing love. He says, what's up, Jesse? Mad love for you, dog. John Lynch changing his tune saying keeping Jimmy didn't affect free agency, but weeks before he said it would. Yes, and that right there, just so you know, that's exactly why people were frustrated, because he was very clear saying that it would hold them back in free agency, and then he says, well, we did everything we needed to do. No, that's not the way that this works. And again, he gave you the leadership answer circle, or the circle answers, where he doesn't really answer anything, and that's super frustrating. That's why I liked Shanahan speaking yesterday, because I really feel like he provided a ton of clarity on the situation. That's just me. Maybe nobody else got that from him talking, but for me, certainly did. Let me show you guys some love, then I'm going to get over to Korean 49. All right, this is a crapshoot every week, Korean 49er. Can we actually hear you? No. Oh my gosh. Why does it do this every single time? Hop out, hop back in. I'll give you 20 seconds. And if not, I'll move to Mike and then come back to you. All right. So what are you guys' thoughts in the chat? Just a simple yes or no. Are you more comfortable after Shanahan speaking? Yes or no? Do you have confidence that Trey is going to be the starter after Shanahan spoke versus what John Lynch said? Yes or no? Simple yes or no. That's all I need from you guys. Nope. Yes. Absolutely no. See, it's still a mixed bag. All right, let's try this again.
Can you hear me now?
I got you.
Who knows, man? I don't know with this, so that'll be it. My first thing is, until Jimmy's gone, he's like Dracula. You're not going to get him until you get him through the heart with the silver cross. Because did you listen to Grant's cone phone today?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he said the story about when a guy he knows was at the club with Jimmy was there.
Yeah, I did
in
hear
Chicago.
That part. Yeah. Yep.
To me, that just sounds like Jimmy in a nutshell, because he got paid over $100 million, and what's he doing? He's not making himself better. So I have no clue what he's doing to make himself better, because he hasn't done anything like that and improved since 2017 when he got here.
Yeah, Jimmy has not improved since 2017. I don't think that there's a lot of doubt about that. In fact, I think for a couple of years he might have regressed, because this was a guy who was pretty mobile. Actually, he wasn't going to run downfield by any means, but he would break the pocket and make throws, and that is something we saw pretty regularly in the 5 games we saw him. And then once he tore the ACL, he just wasn't that guy. And I understand that, right? It's a big injury. You don't trust it, what have you. I do feel like he got some of that mobility back this last year, but as far as just who he is as a decision maker, arm strength, knowing the offense, going through his progressions, no, Jimmy Garoppolo is the same freaking guy, and he has horrible mechanics in his base.
To me, 31 other NFL teams have to be seeing what some of the 49er fans are seeing. Doesn't throw down the field, slow decision making. Usually there's 2 or 3 passes to open defenders that usually sometimes are 50-50 on if they intercept them. I mean, to me, it's just maybe someone's saying something that I'm not, but I'm going to continue. If they do get an asset for Jimmy in a trade, I'll be happy to be wrong on Jimmy having no trade value, because I don't think any team offered a draft pick to the 49ers at any time for Jimmy.
Okay, so something I've been talking about, a way that they can save face on this situation is even if they just cut Jimmy, right? Let's say they do it in August, they wait till he gets healthy, passes a physical. Now they're saving the full $25 million, and then they roll over a majority of that going into next year. Let's say 20 plus. So now they've got $40 million to play with on top of whatever the cap's going to go up. Would you feel good about that? Like, would you at least come away saying, all right, it wasn't a trade. Yeah, maybe they hung on to him too long, but the end result was Trey is starting, Trey's our future, and we still have $40+ million now because we get to double up on Jimmy Garoppolo's money that we're not going to spend. How would you feel about that situation?
I would have been happier just to get the salary cap space back last season when they could have had 50 million, up to 50 million. We'll just say
Yeah,
that.
for sure. Yeah, trust me, I would have much. If they could have done that last year, by the way, let's just walk through what they could have done this offseason. Okay, so they could have spent an additional $25 million in free agency, could have gotten themselves a Tyrann Mathieu or a big time pass rusher, right? And front loaded that contract to make him cheaper in future years while also still rolling over $25 million just to do it all again next offseason and having that $50 million. So, yes, that would have been the right decision. That's why I don't necessarily trust that the 49ers are going to make the right decision here because they have not with the quarterback position. For as great as they've done building the roster, the quarterback position, for whatever reason, has been a giant blunder after giant blunder. That being said, I just something about with what Shanahan said yesterday. I really feel like he knows what the hell's going on, and he understands it, and he's just not going to let it play out this offseason. Not once it gets to actual game reps. You know, I don't think he's willing to take away reps away from Lance to have a true competition. I think that he's rolling with Lance, and let's hope that they're also smart enough to save that money and keep it.
We can only hope, but I got two last points and I'll let you go. The first point I wanted to get to is under the ownership of the York family, I won't ever see a championship anytime soon. They've consistently shown us that they are more worried about filling the seats and getting the money. Because I believe I heard that Jed York wants to replace that Levi Stadium sign and wants the city of Santa Clara to pay for it. $1.3 million. You're a billionaire, man. Just pay it and get it done.
Well, okay. So I think you bring up a good point. Is it at all possible? So we look at why Jimmy's here, right? Is it at all possible that Jimmy is still here because York's not willing to eat the $7.5 million, even if he's able to get it back next year? That he's just like, no, you guys told me that you would be able to trade him. You made me pay both of these guys last year. We didn't win a Super Bowl. I'm not going to pay this guy $7.5 million to not be on the team. I've already given him over 100. You keep him and then cut him once he's healthy. Like, do you think that that's a possibility here?
I think it is a possibility. I think Jed wants to kind of be what his uncle was, and having a consistent winner. So I think he is trying to put their feet to the fire on since they said, "Hey, this is our plan," and right now it's coming up with a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah. So I think I think there's a possibility there that could be in play because he is very, very frugal.
Yes, and the last thing is I don't. Someone told me that if you cut Jimmy, that money can go to Bosa and Debo for this year. I don't believe they can since they're still under the rookie deal. So I don't know where anyone's coming up with that. That money you got to worry about for 2023 and beyond because there's still options for the 49ers with Debo and Bosa. So I'm not sure where I heard that or even came from.
Okay. So all right, let me find the quote, see if I can find it here. Because I heard a lot of smart people saying that, oh, well, it doesn't matter because that money's reserved for Debo and Bosa. And it's like, no, that's not the way it works. And in fact, John Lynch confirmed that. Here was the quote. Does having Jimmy on the roster impact Debo or Bosa resigning? He said, it could bring the cap down, Lynch said. There is a number of different directions that we could go there, but we're excited about the opportunity to have those guys. So basically if in the right scenario, if they re-sign those guys, it actually can bring their 2022 cap number down by re-signing them. That's the way extensions work, especially with rookies. So everybody that's saying, well, they're just saving that money for Debo and Bosa. No, they're not. That doesn't make any sense. It never made sense. And a lot of people that I respect have come with that take. I just think it's a bad take, in my opinion, because that's not the way that it works. Now, if they keep that money and want to roll it over, sure, then it could go towards those contracts. I guess technically you could front load the hell out of it, but nobody does that in the NFL. Nobody does that. So, no, that is not why they're keeping Jimmy here so that they can save it magically for Bosa and Debo. If there was multiple plans and John Lynch said that there was multiple plans, Jimmy not being on this roster was certainly the ideal plan. If that is the case, then they were going to use that money elsewhere. It was not going to go to Debo and Bosa, period.
Exactly. And could I get the Fred Sanford, Elizabeth, I'm coming home video every time I come on your show? You know how Red Fox died, right?
No.
He actually had a heart attack and did that on stage at his last performance.
Are you serious?
He was actually having a real life heart attack, and everyone thought he was just acting, but he passed away due to having a heart attack. The thing that got the most laughs on his show caused him to die in real life.
Jeez, man, that's rough. Well, you saw that one that comedian girl that was acting and talking about COVID and making a joke about it, and then she passed out on stage, and everybody thought she was joking. It's like, no, she wasn't joking. Yeah, that's crazy. I did not know that.
That's what I've heard. I love that show. Just they don't make TV like that anymore. So thanks, Jesse. Appreciate it.
All right, brother. You have a good one, man. Thanks.
You too.
Let's see here. All right, so here's the order we're gonna go. We got Mike, we got Rohan, we got Eric, and then we got Nick. Nick's a new caller, I believe. So excited to hear from him. That's the order that we're gonna go in. But let's talk about offensive line real quick. Alfredo Gutierrez. Okay, big body guy, certainly has some of the athleticism to get it done. They kept him for a reason. They see something in him, but it's still a project. It's still a flyer. It's still a project. So I don't know what's going to happen with Gutierrez. I don't even know if he's going to make the team. Maybe they stash him on the practice squad again, or maybe he takes giant leaps. Who knows? As far as the offensive line as a whole, I think the 49ers really believe in Banks. Jalen Moore, let's not forget, was brought here to play guard as well. Certainly played some tackle last year, but they brought him in to play guard. And so I think that they feel comfortable with the interior of that offensive line. We'll see what happens with Mike McGlinchey. Who knows if he's going to be able to come back? Are they comfortable with school? I think they could certainly use a draft pick or two at the offensive line and make everybody compete. We'll see what they do. I'm not as uncomfortable with the offensive line as some people are, but I'm certainly not comfortable with it by any means. And Dusty says, I want a center. I think a center that can also play guard out of this class would be ideal. Give him a chance to compete for one of the starting guard positions and then move over to center if Mac gets injured or retires after the season. I would love that. I think that's smart. All right, let's bring in the notorious one, as I call him, Mr. Michael Miller. What's going on, Mike? Wow. You're lucky you're not on screen with that one. Jeez.
So that's why I did it. No, I just wanted to say something. You said that you don't front load contracts. Well, Jimmy G was front loaded with $42 million his first year.
But that was that was not the year that they signed him, because they extended him. What was it?
Well, there's 2018. That was the year they signed him. They front loaded him $41.95 million.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
So, okay, here's the point.
Prove you wrong. That's all.
You can do it, but most teams don't. Do you honestly think that Jimmy's here? Like, I feel like that's a scapegoat chicken crap way of looking at it. Do you think Jimmy's here so that they can save that money for Bosa and Debo? You think that was really part of the plan? I don't.
No. But what I worry about more than Jimmy's contract is Mike McGlinchey's contract for $11 million just to do squat. There's a reason why John Lynch was voted the 4th or 5th worst GM in the league. Is because he wastes too much money. D Ford on that radio station out there in California, they done said they're releasing him now. And that means we would have paid him all but $2.5 million of his $89 or $87 million deal. How does a guy stick around that long when he only had like $30-some million guaranteed to start with?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, that's
John Lynch. That's why John Lynch is the world's worst GM that ever walked the face of the earth. You know, Western Richburg, how much money did we lose on that deal? Mike McGlinchey, D Ford, I could go on and on and on. You know, Jimmy Garoppolo, 53 or 52.87 million or whatever it would have been we could have saved if we'd have cut him last year or traded him last year. And we could have traded him last year for actually something. That cap would look good because he wouldn't have been the guy from Kansas City. We'd have got J.C. Jackson instead. And we would have probably got one of the top defensive ends in free agency also if we'd have had that money. Wouldn't have lost all those players that we lost. And imagine a Chandler Jones opposite of Bosa. Because remember, he was deciding whether or not he wanted to go to us or to the other team.
They were definitely in on Chandler Jones. There was no doubt about that.
So imagine him alongside Bosa, on the opposite side with J.C. Jackson in the backfield. Been nasty.
I mean, yes, it would have been nasty. And let me also, I want to be clear about this as well, right? Let's go back to the first comment, which good point, right? They did front load Jimmy, but that team was in a very different situation, right? Like they're looking at it saying, okay, we're not Super Bowl contenders in 2018. So let's front load the hell out of this thing so that we can pay guys next offseason, which is exactly what they did. That's when they did trade for Ford. That's also when they brought in Quan Alexander. They splurged a little bit, and that's when they made their Super Bowl run. But
Quan Alexander, how about that contract?
That was trust me, not a good one. Not a good one.
But they wasted.
But right now, this team should be looking to go all in because the NFC is wide open for them. And so that's why I think there is no shot in hell that money this year at least was reserved for Debo.
By the way, if you would have traded for Jimmy at that time, wouldn't you have signed him to an extension when you traded for him? Did give up a second-round pick. You signed somebody. We could have signed him for a 3-year deal worth about $3 to $5 million per year at that time. We wouldn't have been signing him after 5-game, thing. Another one of John Lynch's big mess-ups.
Well, they could have franchise tagged him as well and made him prove it again.
Well, I'd never give away a first or second round pick without a contract more than 1 year.
Yeah.
My name is not LA Rams.
Well, you gives away. That's a good point though, because do you remember there was still talk that they still may not sign Jimmy and they still might go after Kirk Cousins. Like that was a real thing.
Well, I mean, how about we just trade Kyle Shanahan so he can have Kirk Cousins?
Chill.
I'm just saying. But, there are a few teams that are going to go after a top wide receiver, and Mr. Number 3 could be a big asshole.
Yeah. I mean, it's true.
I mean, if the Rams threw the 4th, the 10th, the 34th, and the 42nd pick at you, what would you do?
I don't know, man. That's okay. Give me those picks again.
Like hell because I'm scared of John Lynch screwing them picks up.
I know. Give me what picks is it again? Which ones do you say?
The 4th, the 10th, 34th, and the 42nd pick.
Oh, that's a no. Come on, that's a no-brainer. Of course you're gonna take that, but they're not gonna get offered that. There's no way.
I don't know.
There's no way. 4th pick,
Michael Lombardi said it would take 4 first-round picks to get Debo off the team.
Yeah, well, and I maybe because they love him that much. I mean, again, we've talked about this, right? Like for me, Debo, if you are a college, if this was a college program, Debo is the guy that you literally go have and meet with recruits because he's the guy on the team that you want everybody to be like. Debo keeps his mouth shut. He works his butt off. The guy plays hard. He is the consummate pro. They're going to have to pay him. Now, one thing that people do need to wrap their mind around, and I don't think it'll get there, the 49ers usually sign guys late. That's the way they did it with Kittle. That's the way they did it with Warner. But if they don't come correct, wrap your mind around Debo holding out. Debo will hold out. If any of them will, Debo will.
I think they're going to pay him $38 million a year.
No, they don't need to pay $38 million. No, they don't need to pay him for that.
Next man up. What is it at right now? 35? What is it, 35 now?
Well, if you look at Tyreek's deal, it's actually the way that it works out. It's because a lot of it was upfront guaranteed. It's only like 28 or something like that. I'd have to relook at it, but it's under 30. The average is 30. The average is 30. Now. Yeah.
Well, next man up, $33 million. You gonna pay him? Knowing that he's very injury prone.
No, he's not getting paid 33.
Yeah, you said that about J.C. Jackson. He'll get 25. And what did he get, 17?
I said 21. To be fair, I said 21, but that was, again, next man up, right?
How come he didn't get 18? Something like
that.
He's
next man up. He's next man up, though. Why is he different than Debo, though? He was next man up.
Because the market for corners is getting flooded in the NFL. There's too many of them.
Well, you don't think that's the case? Have you seen this draft and next year's draft? It is flooded with wide receivers. Flooded with wide receivers.
Well, I'm just telling you, Debo Samuels is somebody that can command that haul from the Jets, and I would jump all over it all day, every day.
He's going to get paid. Don't get me wrong. He's going to get paid. He will get paid.
Hey,
I don't disagree with that.
One more thing. A week before the draft, I want my own show in here so we can do a mock draft.
We can mock. Hey, I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna be doing quite a few mocks. So yes,
I want one-on-one with me and you.
Listen, here's what we can do. I'm gonna turn this call-in show the day before the draft into a mock draft. So here's what I will do. If I can get 5 guys committed, I will do individual mock drafts with each and every one of them.
Okay, I'm one of them.
So you can throw your name in the hat. I know that I think Holden wants to do another one.
I will guarantee you, I will pick over half the players the Niners will pick in my mock draft.
I'll take that bet. I like that bet. I like it.
Last year I hit 4 of them right.
I like the confidence. I love it. Let's see. In fact, maybe that's what we'll do. Maybe everybody that wants to do this can enter. I'll take 5 people. Since you're the one that kind of has given me this idea, you're one of them. And whoever gets the most right, the player and the round that they were picked, I'll give them something. I'll do some sort of giveaway. I'll give a 49er draft hat. There we go. I think that's the way to do it. So let's do that. I like that. That's a great idea. I appreciate it, Mike.
Work hard.
There you go. Hey, you better come correct now. You talked all that ish.
I'll nail a bunch of them right. I just don't like you got to hit it on the exact round because John Lynch likes to flip flop and trade too much. I'll hit the players, but not the rounds.
Yeah, not the. Well, hold on. We'll figure it out. Let's talk. We'll figure it out. All right.
You have a good night. I'm on the bed. I'm sick. So.
All right, brother. Feel better.
All right. Bye.
Later. Ariel wants in. Hey, anybody that wants in, as soon as this show is over, go into the comment section and say, I want to be a part of the mock draft. I'll get 5 people. We'll do it. I think that'll be a lot of fun. So, all right. Let's actually hold on. I thought there was a super chat. I think I clicked on it and then didn't actually read it. M9er tapping in says, I honestly think the Niners are keeping Jimmy out of spite. You screwed our plans. No, we're going to screw your plans. Maybe. And that's what I'm saying. If I'm running this team, I'm cold and calculated. He did screw up their plans. So guess what? If I can't trade you when you get healthy, I'm cutting you and you can go be a backup in this league. I don't care. Like at this point, there is no allegiance to Jimmy G. It's you did what's right for you, as he should. We've got to do what's right for the 49ers, as we should. So that's what I'm doing. That's me personally. Before I get to Rohan, let me give you some love real quick. Here you go. Rohan, what's up, man?
What's up, Jesse? How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. How you been?
I've been good. Busy for sure with the 49ers stuff, but doing good.
Well, while you're here, we got over 100 people watching. You want to plug the channel before you get going?
Sure. Yeah, real quick. So everybody in here that loves 49er content, I mean, Jesse's one of the best at it. We all know that. So before I plug my stuff, make sure you subscribe to Last Second Sports, but also go over to my Twitter, Rohan Sports 27. You can get my YouTube link in the description there, and you can subscribe to that. And also hit the subscribe button on my podcast with Marco Martinez, 49ers Red Zone Pod. We come at you every week with draft content, 49ers content, and all of that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Hey, I don't know if you know, Rohan, but I knew we were about a little over 50 away before the night started hitting 5K. Looks like 123 Cancun says about 40 more. So guys, let's get there. That. If you are not subscribed, let's get to 5K. Let's get to 5K, man. How awesome would that be tonight? I appreciate everybody.
Wow, that'd be amazing.
All right, brother. What's on your mind, man?
I just heard you guys talking about the Debo and like how Garoppolo's contract might not necessarily affect Debo and Nick Bosa's deals. And I wanted to not necessarily give a lot of pushback, just a little pushback on it. And the
Mhm.
reason I say that is because while John Lynch said that the cap hits might go down for both players on their contracts this year, I don't necessarily think that that can be true just based on the magnitude of the deal that they're given. Because when you look at 49er contracts in the past, guys like Fred Warner, right, and guys like George Kittle and Ark Armstead didn't necessarily get big signing bonuses. Ark Armstead only got a 3.5 million, or I think it was like 18 and a half signing bonus, something like that. George Kittle got 18. Fred Warner got about 12.5. And so I think it's not necessarily that their contracts are going to astronomically increase that some people think, but it's actually that it's just going to be based on the signing bonus, right? And with these two players, it seems like they'll get a little more guaranteed money in terms of that signing bonus. So that cap hit might just increase because obviously it spreads over 5 years. So I do think maybe part of the Garoppolo thing is budgeted for it, but I think mainly this contract is going to be budgeted for the draft class, right? When you free up that money, it helps you sign your draft class.
Yeah. So okay. So let's say they had traded him and they had 25 million right now more to play with. All right.
Right.
So let's say 7.5 or 8 million goes to the draft class, 7 to 8 million. All right. So you still are probably going to extend Ward because he's in the final year. That's going to free up
Right.
another 6 or
That'll
so.
free up another 6. Yeah.
Yep. And then let's say you extend Debo and Bosa. By the way, I don't think Bosa is going to want to get extended. Everybody keeps talking about,
Yeah,
oh,
he
he's
probably
going to
wants one next year. To be
That's what
honest.
I'm thinking.
But
That's
we'll
the way
see.
that family plays it. So, but let's assume you can extend them both. All right, maybe a little of that comes out of that, but you still have a lot of money to play with, man. I mean, you easily could fit in a Tyrann Mathieu under that budget.
Right. But also, when you look at it, the 49ers might be thinking methodically. And what I mean by that is not there's there's just a ton of talent currently that's still on the roster. I mean, still in free agency. And when how the teams have played midseason, like the 49ers might be in the midseason pool. The last couple of years, the reason that teams weren't necessarily in the market is just because they couldn't shoulder the financial like they couldn't budget for those players like an Odell Beckham, hence why he just gets to pick and go to the Rams. Whereas if you're the 49ers, you throw a 7th round pick there, you get him and he's yours. Like you win that because you have the financial space to keep him. So that's just another thing. But you're right. They do have a good amount of cap space. And speaking on that, like the one thing about the Lynch words around Garoppolo and the curtailing kind of like the aggressiveness, I thought that the 49ers have executed the plan that they wanted to go through in free agency. But I did think that every free agent signing from now on forward, especially after the main restructures are done, which would have been done regardless of Garoppolo, now you have to balance signing those players with restructuring more players and hurting yourself even more in the future. And that's where I think the decision is. It's not necessarily with could they have done more already? I think it's like right now, right? Do you outweigh the having to do more restructures because Garoppolo is on the roster, or do you outweigh the value of players that you sign?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like right now, if you look at it, close 6,000. Jesus, what did I have? 1,000 jump? You mean 5,000? Like, all right. So if you look at things right now, because it's so late, who knows what they would do with that? Like, if a trade happens tomorrow, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to splurge. I don't know if the guys that they wanted to splurge on would still be there, right? And so
Right.
it definitely does make it tough. And I think right now, if you listen to what Shanahan said, I think it's very telling. He said right now he doesn't feel like he was, but he said right now he doesn't feel like getting rid of Jimmy basically for nothing outweighs
Right. Anybody that they
keeping
get
him
on the market right
because
now.
right now that's right now. But if a Chandler Jones was still there, who they certainly did like, if there was a guy that they did like out there, here's what I'll say also. I really believe that they were in on JC Jackson. I do.
I do too. I just thought that they would never compete because they don't give out that big of a signing bonus to any player.
Right. But let's flip this on its head. Maybe that's the difference. Maybe they really truly did want to solidify that number one corner spot. But with Jimmy on this roster, maybe that was the difference in getting JC Jackson versus getting Charvarius Ward. That's a possibility as well.
Yeah, it very much could have been. And like that's kind of the part. And you saw yesterday, right? With Shanahan's words, or Tuesday, with Shanahan's words, like Lynch was the PR type of guy. He said that like he's trying to just keep it all positive. But Shanahan was fairly irked, I feel, with the surgery. Like he brought it up multiple times, just like out of nowhere. Well, yeah, we were surprised by the surgery. We were surprised by the surgery. And it kind of shows how the 49ers weren't really on boat with Garoppolo having that surgery so late. And like obviously that was a huge factor in a multiple, like a huge amount of their decisions. And so like probably from there on, cutting him wasn't a realistic opportunity because you lose out on that money. And right now, yeah, like one question I want to ask you is, do you think now is it smart to wait and get the 7.5 extra million when you cut him when healthy?
Okay, so if the option is let's say no trade is on the table, right?
Yeah,
That is not an option. Okay. So you can cut him now. You can cut him in August, let's say, or you can keep him. Those are my three options.
yeah,
I would love to get a Tyrann Mathieu. He was my off-season crush to go get. Um but I think saving to me, I really look at that $25 million if they can utilize all of it and save a majority of that and roll it over next year. I think that that's a big deal. That's probably the route that I would go. I think that's what I wanted them to do last year. Again, if that's what they had done last year, let's play this out. If they had done that last year, they'd have 25 million more than what they had this year to spend in free agency, and still would have been able to keep 25 million to roll over next year and do it all over again. They can do that, right? So let's say that 25 turns into 50 next year. They spend 25 of it, and then they still roll over 25 and continue to keep this going as long as they can. I think that's a hell of a way to do things if you can remain competitive, but also make sure that you can keep all the guys, because at some point you're going to say, oh God, we need that full 50 because this guy needs to get paid. This guy needs to get paid. Maybe that's next year. But to me, like, I think that's the way to do it. You've got to keep some flexibility. You can't, they only roll over like 1.2 this year. That cannot be the way that you do things every single year. You cannot keep it that close every single year. I think that's a bad way to manage things.
yeah. And I mean, I agree with that. In that, if you save there, because not only can you roll over some of that money, but currently, in my opinion, there's too many free agents on the market that there's going to still be talent come when Garoppolo gets healthy again, when you can cut him, to where you can sign some players for 1 year deals where you now know a full scope of your roster. Following the draft, you know exactly where you need to kind of build a little more and where you're completely content at. And I think cutting Garoppolo then gives you a clear indication of where you can address players in free agency who likely will still be there just because there's so much talent still on the board, in my opinion. And I think that that's another place where you can go ahead and improve your roster while also rolling some of that money.
Yeah, and I could see a situation, maybe Tyrann Mathieu sits there until the draft, right? He's
You
holding
could.
out for more money. He doesn't have a team that he necessarily wants to go to. He'll chill. Then you have a situation where teams fill the safety spot. Maybe the 49ers thought they could get a safety. They didn't get a safety, and they're like, hey, we really could use a Tyrann Mathieu. Let's go bring this guy in. So those things are all possible. I agree with you. I think right now, just trying to put my mind in the 49ers front office and their brass, I think that's probably the route that they're going to go. I ultimately do see Jimmy getting cut.
Yeah.
Do I feel great about that? That's going to happen? No, I don't, because I don't trust them fully. But that's kind of where my mind is leading. I think push comes to shove, they'll get cold hearted and they'll make the right decision.
Yeah. And last comment before I leave. I know the last caller was talking about Debo Samuel. I actually don't think he's going to command the contract, at least in terms of money guaranteed, that people expect. I know a lot of people were flaunting the 30 million, but in reality, Devontae Adams' 5 year, 140 million deal is just a 3 year deal worth 67.5 million. That's 22 and a half a year, and then the Raiders are out of it. For Tyreek Hill, the 4 years, 120 million deal, that just goes to a 3 year, 75 million extension on top of his already contract, 25 million a year. I think Samuel places between 22.5 and 25 million a year, somewhere in that range for the 3 years, because the 49ers like that 3-year opt out. So I think that that's where he's going to end up, getting somewhere in that range. While the money might seem inflated, the guaranteed money should fall around that range. And that's why I think it's sensible to pay Debo Samuel, especially this season, because both parties should be interested in it to get another year of his prime in this contract.
Yeah, I'm with you. To me, I said Debo. If I was the 49ers, I would have came to him first thing beginning of the, and maybe they did. I would have came to him first thing and said, "Listen, we're going to give you 5-year 130, right? Sounds like a big number. Makes you the highest paid guy bar none. 5-year 130, 75 80 guaranteed. That'll be over the course of the 3 years. That puts you right where you need to be in that $25 million range. And that's the way that we're going to play it, because to me, $25 million, I think is more than fair, right? But also, you want to get out in front of the Cooper Cups, the AJ Browns,
Right, exactly. And
all these other guys, the
there's
DK
3 guys
Metcalf.
this year, 3 with McLaurin as well, and then Justin Jefferson of all
Yep.
people next year, who's going to
Yep.
get the highest one of all.
Yep. So you want to get out in front of that, because it'll seem big now and you're going to overpay now, but you're going to save money in the long run. So for me,
Exactly.
I'm with you. And I think that that's still a possibility right around that 25 million. That's where I expect it to land. So I'm with you. Hopefully they get it done sooner than later. Rohan, thank you so much for calling in, man. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you on Twitter, and I got to get to the next one.
See you, man.
All right, brother. All right, let's bring in Eric Dane. So we got Eric Dane, Jamaican Boy, Swan Song, and then Arvis, the guaranteed tallest dude, calling into this station tonight. What's up, Eric?
Hey, what's up, Jesse? How are you?
Doing good, man. Long time no talk. How you been?
Well, actually, that's the reason I haven't called in. I really haven't been feeling too well lately.
Oh,
I've been sick to my stomach about what's going on with Jimmy Garoppolo. It's dragged on beyond belief at this point. I mean, I don't know if you ever seen the movie G-Force.
I haven't. No.
Okay, it's a kids movie. It's about gerbils that join the FBI.
Okay. I've seen the trailer for this.
Yeah,
yes, I've got kids.
It's not exactly Shakespeare, but if you got a kid and you want them to just hang out for an hour and a half, it's good. So, but at one point in the movie, they're breaking into the bad guy's place. They got to steal some evidence, right? And one of the gerbils is like, "All right, so what's the plan?" And one of the other gerbils says, "All right, we're going to go in, we're going to get the evidence, we're going to get out." And the other gerbil says, "Well, that's not a plan, that's a goal." And I really think that's kind of the way it's been going with Garoppolo from the beginning. Is I don't think that they had a plan. I think they had a goal. I think they said, "Oh, well, we traded DeForest Buckner for a first-round pick, and he's an interior defensive lineman. We could absolutely get a pick for Jimmy Garoppolo. He's won this percentage of his games, and he's gone to a Super Bowl and 2 NFC Championship games, and he's a real winner. So somebody will give us a first-round pick for a winner." And the rest of the rest of the NFL said, since the moment that they traded up for the pick for Trey Lance, going back to last year, Jimmy Garoppolo was available. And since that moment, the rest of the NFL has said what 90% of the 49ers fans have said. "Oh, well, you didn't go to a Super Bowl because of Jimmy Garoppolo. You went because of your defensive line and your running game and Kyle Shanahan's coaching. And there's about 6 or 7 other things before we even come close to listing Jimmy Garoppolo." So for all the Garoppolo fans, it's the proof is in the pudding. If you want to know what something is worth, when I was a kid, I had a comic book. I thought it was worth, all this money. My dad took me to the store and the owner offered me like a fraction. My dad said, if you want to know what something is actually worth, you put it up for sale. Well, Jimmy Garoppolo has been up for sale. The rest of the NFL could have had him for a first-round pick at any point in over a year, and nobody offered that. So I think that they had an opportunity last year. It's been reported the Patriots offered a second-round pick. They could have just taken that and then moved on. But that's the thing. These guys march to the beat of their own drum. Ever since they took over, they've had their own unique vision. At a time when the entire NFL is moving towards passing the ball, they committed to the run. When the Patriots set a model with, having an elite secondary, they won all these Super Bowls with, they said, we're going to commit to a defensive line. So they have their own unique vision, and they said, Jimmy Garoppolo is worth the first. We know this. Even if the rest of the NFL doesn't, they'll catch up to us eventually. And it hasn't happened. And now You're playing musical chairs. All the seats have been taken. Indy's got a quarterback. Atlanta, who traded away Matt. You know what I mean? It seems like everyone traded away one and got another, and at no point was Jimmy G involved. So that's what I think happened. I think that they wanted a first round pick. They didn't get the offer, and they've held on to him for over a year until they've gotten that offer, and they still haven't gotten it. And now they're not going to get it. I mean, who's left besides Seattle and Carolina that could even potentially trade for Jimmy Garoppolo?
You're speaking my language on this, and it's not just this. It was the quarterback situation as a whole. And Jack Hammer and I got into this many, many months ago, and I said exactly what you said. And it wasn't about the Jimmy situation. It was just about the quarterback situation. And I talked about last offseason, they didn't have a plan. They had a goal. They wanted to get a quarterback. They wanted to get better at the position, but they went through every single option they had up to and including draft, the draft eve, trying to trade for Aaron Rodgers. That is not a plan. That is a goal. Now, they accomplished that goal, or we like to think they accomplished that goal by getting Trey Lance, right? But that was not the plan. It's not like they went into the offseason and were like, hey, you know what? We're going to move up to 3 and we're going to draft Trey Lance. No, that is not at all it, because they talked about Stafford. I believe that they initially wanted Watson. Then that whole thing happened. They kicked the tires on Aaron Rodgers. They were deciding who they wanted at quarterback, even if Lance was the favorite. So I'm with you, man. The whole quarterback position as a whole, by the way, has not been a plan. It has been a goal since 2017. So yeah. I love it. I love that you said that.
Now, I mean, and people are saying, like, I know you mentioned that they couldn't use that for the Debo or the Bosa extensions. Like, to me, it doesn't matter what value you get, whether it's, you know, the difference between signing Tre'Davious Ward or J.C. Jackson, whether it's outright signing one guy like Chandler Jones, whatever value you get is some kind of value. But right now, having Jimmy Garoppolo on the roster, and I think, in my opinion, going back to last year, but certainly now, not only are you not getting value, you're getting negative value. It's a detriment to the team. Every 4 out of the 5 quarterbacks taken the first round last year, at some point in the season, the team handed them the reins. The Bears tried something with Andy Dalton, but that didn't last very long. The Patriots cut Cam Newton in training camp and said it's Mac Jones' team. Trey Lance is the only one that they haven't committed to. And you know, everyone says, oh, the locker room loves Jimmy. Well, that's now all of a sudden that's not a good thing, because Jimmy's not the future of the team. He's not the quarterback anymore. You need the locker room to get behind Trey Lance. And I fully believe Trey Lance got the kind of character where that's going to play out. It's going to work itself out eventually. But the fact that he's even starting off behind the 8 ball, he's starting off a little bit with this, you know, any kind of instruction, you know, like every other team that you play is working as hard as they can to defeat you. You can't work to defeat yourself. You can't work against your own, you know, interests. And the moment that they traded for those picks, the future was Trey Lance, not Jimmy Garoppolo. So it's not just what you could have done instead of having Jimmy G. It's the fact that even having him there, you can't. And like, I don't know how long it's going to take until he can pass physical, but you can't bring this guy into training camp. I mean, you can't have him. So that's why I think at this point, just one last thing real quick before I go. I don't like to complain about things without having a solution. So I got a plan. I don't know if you ever heard of Blue Origin.
You know what? Can I say this real quick? You surprised me coming in, because you're always optimistic. So when you said that you were sick, first of all, I was worried, but then you said I'm sick to my stomach over this situation. That made me laugh a little bit, because you are always super optimistic every time I talk to you.
I'm optimistic in the sense that I really like the rest of the roster, and I am optimistic about Trey Lance taking over. Like I'm optimistic as a whole, but that doesn't mean that everything is always perfect and that you've never made any mistakes. And I think this is a big one, because obviously it's the most important position of the team, the amount of money he's being paid. But yeah. So anyway, real quick, just I don't know if you ever heard of Blue Origin or SpaceX, but you got these companies now that are making private space flights, right? You can go to space as a private citizen. So I think we got to start a GoFundMe page. All the fans got to donate. And then whenever training camp rolls around, if Jimmy Garoppolo's still on the roster, we buy him a free ticket. We say, Jimmy, you already look like an astronaut. You get to be the first NFL player that's ever gone to space. You're going to make history. Just go up to space. Just go hang out for a little while. Trey Lance gets all the first team reps. You get to go to space. Who knows? Maybe you could bring, maybe you meet someone up there. Maybe there's some girls up there, some actresses. Who knows? You know, you'll have a grand old time. And by the way, zero gravity. It's good for your rehab. It'll help. It'll help with your recovery. So we get him a ticket. We send him to space because, I mean, I think there's a 95% chance they'll cut him the moment that he's healed. I think they're going to call him into the office. Will Smith is going to be waiting there. He's going to walk up. He's going to do his thing. And they're going to say, Jimmy, you're cut. I think that they would have kept him until he pulled the thing with the injury, waiting until the last second to reveal that he was going to get. Because I think that they did have a really good relationship until that moment. And you heard Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch both say, you know, we could have traded him if not for, you know, because if he gotten the surgery as soon as the season ended and then began the recovery, that's one thing. But waiting, you know, it's not a coincidence. He obviously did that to try to screw him over, and they know that. So I think that maybe they might have kept him. Maybe they might have did some kind of quarterback competition. But now I think all of a sudden he's not in the club anymore. He's not one of their fans. He's not one of their favorites because, you know, he actively went out of their way to impede their ability to trade him. So I think at this point they will cut him. You know, I was worried about maybe quarterback competition, but now I think they're like, oh, well, this guy, you know, I think that they might have been talking to the Colts, you know, because the Colts had gotten rid of Carson Wentz. And nobody had any idea that Matt Ryan was going to become available. So I think they could have traded him to the Colts if not for that, you know, injury thing. So at this point, I think they'll cut him. And then however that benefits the salary cap, at least, you know, that at that point, you'll have some kind of finality about the whole thing and you can move forward from that point.
I have to say, first of all, everybody in the chat loved that comment. People that were backstage were cracking up. That's probably the first time I've ever had to mute my mic because I was laughing so hard. Thank you so much for that. Hell of a call, man. It was worth the wait for sure. I always enjoy your outside the box thinking. You always come with some crazy theory. People are always wondering, well, okay, where's he going with this? What the hell is he talking about? And then you bring it full circle and you make it make so much sense. I appreciate that, Eric. It's always a pleasure talking to you, man. Don't be a stranger. Call in more often, all right?
All right, I will.
All right, brother. Later. Eric, dude, he's always coming with crazy theories. And like I said, man, it always comes full circle and makes a ton of sense for sure. Loved that call. Great call. So we're gonna go Jamaican Boy, Swan Song, and then Arvis. What's up, Jamaican Boy?
Hey, Jesse, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you, man.
Yeah, I put in the chat if you could let me go last because I'm driving right now.
Okay, all good. I'll let you go last, man. All right, Swan Song and then Arvis. What's up, Swan Song?
Hello? Oh.
How you doing?
Doing pretty good. God, I gotta follow those two callers, man.
Hey, no pressure, man. Just let's talk through what you want to talk through.
Okay,
I said, Eric's kind of a wallflower, man. That guy's he's out there. I love him.
I just put some notes on just comments because they pretty much covered it all. I just want to put comments of what I liked hearing and things like that. So first of all, I saw a thing where they said more Brady rumors. That's probably going to be true. That's going to happen. But I'm going to squash that right now. Brady is not coming to the Niners. Bruce Arians retiring is the reason why it's Brady, right? So he's not going to leave now. He's getting what he wants. And then and another thing is there's been reports that Brady is literally calling free agents to come play with him. So he's not going to call these guys in and then go, later, I'm going to the Niners. Peace out. So that is not happening. I think right now with the Jimmy G plan, of course, I was sick to my stomach, literally too, during this whole time with what was going to happen, right? And then once Shanahan came out and talked about it, I was like, okay, the writing's on the wall. He's pivoted totally now to Lance without actually saying it, right? And of course, the Niners are pissed off at Jimmy G, right? Like, not the fact that it's not legit, like whether Jimmy G's surgery is legitimate or not, right? Like but the fact that he didn't tell them that he was getting the surgery, that's huge. Like, and especially like, this is what I know. Like I have a couple brothers that work in Fortune 500. I mean, I work in Fortune 500, but they're more like C-level guys, right? When C-level guys get betrayed, dude, it doesn't even matter anymore about pluses and minuses. Like they'll get their revenge, like, because that's worth more to them. Because to them, it's about like I don't know, like an attitude, a moxie. Like you can't get you get what I'm saying. Like those guys do not. They're what is the word?
They're not needle movers.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like that's gonna rub them the wrong way. So I don't know how they play it out. Of course, they got to balance out how they treat Jimmy as well because of the locker room, yada yada. But there's no way he's on this team. And if he's on this team, then that lets you know how bad this organization is. If Jimmy is back on this team playing, that lets you know two things. Okay, either how bad the organization is or how low confidence they have in Trey Lance. Right? Both of those things not good, right? Right? So they either don't have the cojones to go what they want to go and rather have safe face, right? Or they're just really not confident in Trey Lance and this has all been a ruse, right? So I doubt both of those things are true. And the writing's clear on the wall that I think that Jimmy is gone, not to mention all the cap stuff and all the things that you guys brilliantly laid out. And I think that's just, I think right now the 49ers strategy with Jimmy G at this point, I think they're smart enough to know, hey, there's not a market for him as what we thought there was, right? Especially there's not enough buyers left anyways. Maybe the Panthers, right? That's the only one that really makes sense.
The only one that makes sense to me. Yeah.
Another thing too, I thought about this morning is that what if not saying Pittsburgh wants to pay for Jimmy G, but if Jimmy G is cut, Pittsburgh's going to be all over that because what they're paying for Trubisky right now is backup money. It's only $5 guaranteed for 2 years, right? They have enough to go, hey, well, Jimmy G, yeah, we didn't want to trade much for him, but shoot, him cut, that means we can pay him what we think is fair. Like say if Jimmy G's cut, right? He's not making north of $20 million, right?
No,
I don't think so,
not
right?
A chance.
Yeah,
no.
So it's like, let's say 12, 15 million, right? Something like that. Pittsburgh could do that, right? They have the cap for that, right? They can have Trubisky and Jimmy, right? So
yeah.
So I don't know what the market is for Jimmy, but I hope something happens during the draft with Carolina, some weird creative thing that they do with Carolina, I know they don't have any picks this year really, but there is a scenario that I thought about, like what if Carolina did this, right? They have pick 6, right? They're not going to pick a quarterback at pick 6, right? So their choice is either to get a pass rusher, an O lineman, right, which they actually need. But instead they go, you know what? Let me trade down, right? Let me trade down.
Which I could see.
Yeah, they could trade down to the Eagles for, say, pick 15. Eagles at 15, 16, and 19, right? They could trade pick 15 with the Eagles, right? And then get a second and a third in return in this draft, right?
Yep.
50-something and 80-something or whatever it is. And use that capital to then trade for Jimmy.
That's a good point. That's a possibility.
It's that's the only player that I see right now, other than maybe some weird thing with Pittsburgh. I don't know, and Pittsburgh giving literally nothing. But at this point, I think the 49ers right now is just in Jimmy save face mode. I think that's one of the things, right? I think they know, of course, they want to get as much for him as possible. But at this point, if they're seeing their opportunities of where they can get out of this clean and save some face, because they do have some excuses, right? They could say, hey, this whole injury thing, they were caught from left field. Like, what the hell? Injured, in recovery, not until July. That's an excuse. Another excuse is there's no way no one could have predicted all this stuff that's happened in the offseason with quarterbacks. No one. Right. You can say, oh, yeah, there's no way. Deshaun Watson wasn't even in the radar until 3 or 4 days when we heard the news about his court case that he could possibly, not be charged with anything. That was 3 days, right? And then you didn't know that Brady was going to come back. You didn't know Russell Wilson was actually going to leave Denver, right? And then all the repercussions of Watson trade going to Atlanta. Now that freed up Matt Ryan. All those things were not predictable. So they could make excuses, save some face from that way as well, right? Because I think that's what it is right now. It's about, in a way, trying to mitigate any damage that makes them look bad, right?
Yeah, the other thing too is that like the other out they have is one thing that they've said the whole time is that they are going to try to do right by them, but also do right by Jimmy. So they can cut Jimmy outright when he can pass a physical and say, hey, you know what? We tried to make it work with some other teams. We didn't feel like the compensation and the fit for Jimmy worked out. We're going to do right by him.
You're totally right.
Best thing is that we save this $25 million now. For him, he gets to choose his team. He can go be a backup to Mac Jones and wipe your hands of it. That's the other way that they can spin it.
Yeah, that's true. They could spin it that way and not look like the bad guys. It's kind of like, hey, we give Jimmy the choice, like we could have gotten a 6, but we'll give Jimmy what he wants to do. Like, that's a great point. But yeah, so I think another thing I wanted to bring up was, well, you guys were talking about cap stuff earlier and about like nowadays, like if you look at like how you see the Saints, right, in offseason, like they're 60 million over the cap, right? Over the cap, and you're like, what? How the hell are they going to dig themselves out of it?
They were 100 last year.
Yeah. And sure enough, they dig themselves out of it, right? So I get it. Everyone, when people see that, they go, the cap doesn't exist. Yes, it does exist. It's just teams do it the different ways. The problem, the way of what the Saints doing it is it allows them zero flexibility. All the players that they have now, they better keep them. If their D Fords happening on there, they're screwed because they're gonna have to pay so much money that they backloaded, right? And it allows them no flexibility. Look, they lost Teron Armstead, right? Like they lost him. Right.
They hold on. Not only that, they lost Armstead, but who was the cap for the Bengals that was a good pass rusher? They lost him the offseason before. Yeah, so they've lost some big name players.
So it's like you could do that. So it's important to maintain some cap flexibility, right? So that when you do see a window, then you go for it. If you see, hey, you know what? This is my shot. Everything looks great. Now, can we make it happen? Yes. If you don't do all these backloaded contracts, yes, you can make that happen. 49ers are very healthy in that regard. They're nowhere as aggressive as some of these other teams that are doing it, right? And like, look at what the Rams did, right? Everyone thought, oh man, the Rams have no flexibility. The Rams did it in a little different way because they lacked a little bit of cap flexibility just because they were carrying Goff's freaking contract so they had 48 million designated to quarterback last year and still won it. So by the way, that's the new record. If everyone tells you different, that is the new record. The new record is, you're not going to say, oh, but Stafford only was making 20 million. No, but their QB room that year was 45 million because you have to factor in Goff's 25 million. But what the Rams did, it was that, hey, you know what? We're just going to trade future draft picks as a way to get in now, right? What they did with the Von Miller was brilliant, right? It was like the best of both worlds for them. We don't have to pay the full money to Von Miller because half of it's been paid already, right? And then we're going to give a second and a third, whatever. They obviously don't care about that, right? Because they want to maximize this 2-3 year window that they have, right? And if you look at the Rams cap, when you really look at it over the cap, they're not even that bad. Like everyone thinks they're bad. It's really not that bad because a lot of their players are not making crazy money. Like Aaron Donald's not making crazy money. Kupp is not making crazy money relative to their talent. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Even Jalen Ramsey, right? So, and that brings a good point. What you were saying about Debo is that if they get in with Debo right now, they don't have to worry so much, later. I'm not saying to give Debo $30 million or whatever it is. I think somewhere fair is that 22, 25 million, make it work. Debo's not going anywhere. That's going to happen, right? That's going to happen. Make it 3 years, give them outs. I think that's brilliant. And then with Bosa, who I hope they sign him. I mean, I'm not sure if that's the family that you want to mess with the 5th year, with the 5-year option with Bosa. Like, I don't know if that's a family you want to mess with because they'll take it to the brink. And they're very set on their principles too. Like those are the guys that really set on their principles. So I don't know. I don't know. That sounds kind of bad, but I don't know. But yeah.
No, I mean, and the thing with Bosa is that I really think that he's going to wait until next offseason to get paid because he knows that he can get more if he waits. And that's the way the Bosa family rolls. But listen, man, that was a great call. You were worried about following the other ones. I thought you did a great job. So appreciate you calling in, Swan Song. I think you made some very good points. we'll see. We're going to see how this whole thing plays out. But I think it'll be funny if they do cut Jimmy and they say one of the things that we were saying, we can say, hey, that whole thing started right here, Last Second Sports.
Right on. Thanks, Jesse. Thanks,
all right, brother. Have a good one.
Okay, you too.
Davo wants to know, Coco Maui, as I call him, wants to know, why is my name not in green? I need an explanation. That's because you are not a member of the channel, Coco Maui. You have to be a member of the channel. So if you're not going to be a member of the channel, you don't get your name in green. It's very, very simple. Also, if you get your name in green, you get access to exclusive content, Coco Maui. So if you were as big of a supporter of this channel as you say you are, then you would show it. But listen, if your name's not in green, don't blame me, blame you. Just going to throw that out there. All right, let's get into Arvis. Arvis, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Oh man, I'm hanging in there, just enjoying like you have to pay attention literally to every second, and if you don't, you can still pay attention to the last second sports channel.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Arvis, why don't, real quick, because it's been a while since you've called in, why don't you remind the chat how tall you are? Because the comments are going to come. The guy's got a deep voice. How tall is he? Blah, blah, blah. How tall are you, Arvis? They're going to want to ask. Let's get out in front of it.
All right. So to tell everyone, and this is 100% true. I mean, I use the doorpost to, enter. I use that and I play, limbo with it. I know it's very strange, but, you get a kick out of it. But I am blessed to be 7 feet 3 inches tall. Technically 7'4", but 7'3" just sounds nice.
Yeah.
There you go. So, works for me, kind of rolls off the tongue a little bit better.
There you go.
Yeah, no lies. I mean, I done gotten in fights with ceiling fans, and I'm telling you, ceiling fans at low tree branches, man, those are the real bullies. People need to talk about more.
People need to show them respect, is what you're saying.
Yes. Put some respect. Put some respect on my forehead.
I love it.
But what is I was gonna say? Well, I mean, before we start, man, how are you doing?
I'm Arvis. Listen, the 49er thing is going crazy, but my personal life, man, I couldn't be happier. Blessed with a beautiful wife and 2 healthy, beautiful children. So life is great, man. It really is.
See, that's beautiful. See, one of my boys is, right here in front of me, playing Apex. So that's pretty much the norm. Yeah. And he's now looking back at me. And my other son is in the living room doing the exact same thing. So they can go either against or with each other. And my wife, she's, doing what she usually does, playing with her phone. So I'm like, happy. I'm like, hey, as long as she's happy, that's all right. So, and me, and like I said, I'm just trying to hang in there, like a tree branch during winter season,
I feel it, man. I feel it. But yay, you're looking good. You're iced out as always. You got about 10 rings on that hand. Looking fly, man. You're looking fly.
I appreciate that. Definitely. I've been looking for a 49ers ring, not the Groove Life. That one is dope, but it'll be dope to have that 1994 San Francisco 49ers ring, very hard to find. If anyone knows how to, to get on one that's wearable, and I know it's very much a collectible, but I'll be honest with you, I got a thing for rings. So, yeah, if anyone can understand, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I wear a mini helmet around my neck, even right now.
A legit mini helmet because you're so big. Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is, right there. Like one of those ones. These are one of the ones, by the way, guys. These are one of the ones that you go and get signed, right? And then you put somewhere like a mini helmet. I'm letting you know right now. I don't know if anybody remembers this, like back in the day, like Dairy Queen, you used to get like the real small helmets that like this big. If you were born in the 80s or before, you remember this, but you can get the real small helmets. And I'm sure that everybody's seen them, but I'm talking the ones that are like this big. And then you got the mini helmets that you can get signed that are probably about this big. That's what this man's wearing around his neck. By the way, it looks like one of those little mini helmets. It's hilarious.
I appreciate that. Everyone's like, man, you make that work. And I'm like, I appreciate it. So right now, I found a black one like this. And it honestly makes me think of, I'm like, that would actually be perfect, with the black jerseys, because literally just like this, just change the gold to black. That's the only difference.
There you go. Hey, Arvis, would you mind being on camera? Everybody wants to see this helmet.
Oh, yeah. No, mind at all.
Cool. All right, cool. Here we go.
Okay, so
on that helmet.
To show you, it is the actual Friedel helmet, So I made, as far as I was watching the game was good. That was we put a 50 burger on Cleveland, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was just sitting there, had my helmet just like, just right on my lap, just sitting there. And I was like, during halftime, I got to thinking, I'm like, it'll be kind of dope to actually put this on a chain. So I went and got a chain I haven't, used in a while.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, wow, this is a pretty reliable chain. So I actually looked at it and I'm like, if I were to match it but side to side like this, if I were to match it like 2-2 like that, it's gonna drag like this. And then the same with the back. So I'm like, if I go, at like a 45-degree angle, it should hold straight. And if you notice, I have a Snuggie on, so
how do you get a Snuggie that big? Jeez.
You know what? Here's the funny thing. I bought it for my wife.
Uh-huh.
And I was goofing around when it came to the delivered. And I'm like, wait a minute, this thing actually works. I'm like, wow, they really screwed up. I am so happy. and that's where I'm like, man, this works. So I ordered me one, and I'm like, dang, these are comfy. I've been sleeping on these Snuggies in a minute, So that's how I ended up getting a Snuggie. But to let y'all see, it is a good look. It doesn't look as, quote unquote absurd as people think. So I'm telling you, let your imagination go wild. Remember that your imagination doesn't have, it doesn't have a limitation, as far as you're like, that's kiddie, that's immature. And ask them this: does anyone say that your imagination is too young, too old? No, because it has no limits.
Yep.
So
I love
you
that.
pay
I love
bills
that.
for what you pay bills to have access to what you enjoy.
Right.
So if you have an imagination, why don't you, go after that? Something else that you do. I love rings, and I see people always have at least one ring on. I'm like, I wonder, can I put two of these on here? And my dude was like, you're tall when you can put 2 rings on every finger. And I'm like, you know what?
It doesn't even get to that knuckle either.
That's the weird thing. Like, these are good sized rings, and they still don't get to my knuckle. So it's I've never got no complaints, no odd looks. They're just like, dude, I like them rings, man. And so I ended up getting a nickname from one of my guys, so he calls me Rings now. And I guess that's with the Z. And so I'm like, special shout out to Amazon.com.
I love it, brother. I love it. Hey, what is there? Listen, is there any Niner stuff that you want to talk about before you get out of here? I just asked you all these crazy questions.
It's all good.
Figured out, all that stuff. What's on your mind, man, about the 49ers?
Well, see, when it comes to San Francisco, I always have love, for my team. We've been rulers of the Bay since 46, and we still repping it strong. The one thing that people need to know is how important math is. The average person hears about the salary cap, speculations about the salary cap, but do they really know about the salary cap? See, right now, Jimmy G kind of controls the salary cap with his contract. And what a lot of people don't realize, yes, that is $25 million to that would be if, let's say, they were to find a successful trade, that's $25 million off the books. With that being said, $25 million, you're like, oh man, that's 1 year for a guy. No, not exactly. That's where, as far as math, logistics, analytics, etc., that's literally as far as, math pretty much rules the NFL, not Goodell. And, everyone knows they're upset about Jimmy Garoppolo, waiting to the last minute to say something like he ordered for something from, Amazon the day before it comes to be delivered. Hey, so yeah, I bought something on Amazon. It's coming tomorrow. They're like, wait a minute, I'm going to the store. Yeah, you need to stay home. And it's the same thing, except the store represents free agents. The store also represents, as far as deals that need to be made to bring up that salary cap number. Not to mention the reason why, for those who may not know, Nick Bosa will probably, if not, chooses to get re-signed, over this offseason. He may wait until next offseason because the salary cap is going to be higher than it has been in decades.
Yeah. So, no, it's going to be the highest it's ever been. Yeah, you're right about that.
Right. So with that being said, he wants to cash in. Even though a lot of people don't pay attention to this, those who usually get a big check, if they don't take care of things, even if they do take care of things, but had a couple of bad games, what are they talking about now? Restructuring or helping you find a condo in a different team.
Mm-hmm.
And with that being said, Debo Samuel, Nick Bosa, those are two of them. But you still got people coming next. Brandon Ayuk, how are you going to pay him? What do you think his potential is? What is his ceiling? And a lot of people don't realize Debo Samuel is a good sized dude. I mean, he's literally just, rocks and boulders for legs.
Well, if you need a comparison, look at him. There's a video of him coming out and signing and stuff before the Pro Bowl next to Alvin Kamara. He makes Alvin Kamara look like a Wes Welker slot receiver.
Seriously, I looked at him and I'm like, my God. I'm like, man. I'm like, I wanted to be you when I grew up. I'm like, I'm like, that's the only dude I've seen who intimidates weight equipment. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you look at the muscles on, I'm like, even physics can't define that. Wow. Yep. But okay, you see that, and then you see a quote unquote regular, wide receiver, which we would say Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk, people don't realize until they try to tackle him, that is a strong lower body dude. Mm-hmm. And his connections with Debo Samuel, and when he was here, I forgot who just retired. His name's on the tip of my tongue. Oh, well, he didn't retire now, but earlier he did. Reed, who's
yeah.
That's a good man. I was like, when we finally got him, I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't even know he was in the market. When I saw that, I'm like, goodness. And people still aren't talking about one play he had against the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. He had a left-handed, almost to the ground pass catch like just perfectly and kept on going. And if it wasn't for the penalty, that would have been a first down where you're like, that's absolutely impressive. People don't know. You do. A lot of people don't know. So Apex. It's
all
okay.
good.
But people don't realize that he's actually, once he gets the football, Brandon Ayuk, hands of a wide receiver, speed of a running back, but strong like a tight end. And there's plenty of tape that you can see that. It seems like sometimes just play by play by play. Debo Samuel and, I always joke around and call him, baby big brother, Brandon Ayuk. Being here, in Arizona, I was spoiled watching him, play for ASU.
Yeah.
And when we ended up having the opportunity to get him, I'm like, whoa. I'm like, if he transitions well, I'm like, whoa. And you'll see, if you notice 50-50 balls, there ain't much 50 balls that he's missed.
No, there really isn't. In fact, that Arizona game, let's go back to Arizona. That Arizona game with Trey Lance where they threw it on that outside shoulder, that catch, then he broke it for another like 17. He had the other one on the sideline. Ayuk's going to break out this year. I fully believe it. I think Ayuk is going to have a huge breakout season. I think the league, much like Debo, right? We know how good Brandon Ayuk is. We also knew how good Debo was. Now, did we think he was going to break out that way? No, I don't think that was predictable. But we thought that he would announce himself to the NFL, and that's exactly what happened. I think Brandon Ayuk's about to do the same thing in year 3. I think he's about to announce himself to the NFL. Let's not forget his rookie year when Debo was hurt. He was the one taking those end arounds. He was jumping over people. He's extremely athletic, extremely long arms, which, by the way, at the catch point, if you've got a defensive back on your back, the best thing is having those long arms so that you can reach out and make that catch without any interference. He has that. He's strong. He's physical. Great at the catch point. Everything you just said, man. I agree with you. I think Brandon Ayuk's going to have a great season. And working out with Trey Lance 2 straight off seasons, I think is absolutely huge, man. I agree with you. Arvis, I got to get to the next one, man. I appreciate you calling in as always. I appreciate you being a good sport with the height, showing the rings and the helmet, man. Super cool. I appreciate your support as always in the chat, man. And listen, we'll talk again soon. All right.
That sounds good. And everyone, much love. Stay strong, even with the highs and the lows. Because the average person, they didn't say that we would be, Super Bowl contenders. But hey, D'Amico Ryans, if he keeps going on his trend as far as how well he's coaching, our defense, I just don't want no one to take him. But with love and respect, trust me, there's going to be a team that's looking to court him. So, just be on the lookout at every phase of the game because you'll never know. Ross Dwelly started on special teams. Then he was promoted. Ross Dwelly's actually nice. Good hands. He knows his routes. He's not as fast as a Kittle, but he's reliable as a Kittle, especially in the passing, blocking, and run blocking. He is very good.
He might be more reliable than Kittle as far as a pass catcher, to be honest, right? Like I don't think he's certainly not on the level with the blocking, but his pass catching, that man's got hands. He runs really, really good routes. I'm with you.
Yeah, he does. And if you notice, he does what he's supposed to do. He's hardly called for any type of penalties.
Nope.
And he also is just, I always call him the blue collar swag because he's just a man who comes to work with his lunch pouch and does the work, goes home.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, Arvis, man. I appreciate you.
Much blessings, everyone.
Arvis, man. What a good dude. I love when Arvis calls in. Always fun to talk to. Always in the chat, showing love and support. Love that. Jamaican boy, hopefully you're home safe. It looks like you are. No longer driving. I think we gave you enough leeway, man. How you doing, Jamaica boy? What's up, brother?
Nothing, man. It's been a couple months. What's going on?
Dude, it has been a couple months for
Yeah.
sure. For sure. How you been?
Pretty good. I got some good news. I don't want to relinquish it yet. Maybe in like another 4 weeks, I'll probably come on the show and tell you.
Okay, I love that, man. I love that. Yeah, you've been to MIA for sure. You definitely have been. So I'm glad. It's nice to hear when somebody's been MIA for that long that they've got good news to share and not bad news. So that's awesome, man.
Hopefully everything goes good, and then I'll be able to relinquish that information to you, since we
That'd be
built
cool.
up some type of rapport within the
For
past
sure,
year.
man. For sure, for sure. I would love to hear it, man. I absolutely would. I'd love to see people winning. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I see the channel growing, and I'm glad to see you win it too, man.
Thank you, man.
Especially
I
after the
appreciate it.
bounce back is even better than before, man. Than what you had
It
before.
is. It is, man. It really is. And it's proven to be. Everybody's been so supportive, man. I can't believe we're this close to 5,000 after having to relaunch basically in the middle of October. To get here that fast it's a blessing. It really is. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. One thing I want to say, and like I think people are like not talking about it and dancing around, and or not even trying to mention. It's just like a perspective that I noticed. If if we don't want Jimmy, right? Oh, come on, man. You got to rip the label off. Don't give him free promo. You Hollywood now. Don't give him free promo. But yeah, if we don't want Jimmy, or if Kyle doesn't want Jimmy, he wants to expand his offense and throw down the field and do X, Y, Z and all that stuff. Why are we so hell bent on trying to get back what we paid for him, or even somewhere close to that? And if you look at sometimes in the game, some of the sidelines, you remember the game where Kyle looked over and said, "This is simple shit. Can you do this?" Why would and then Kyle just relinquished the information that they don't talk during the offseason. So if there's not a tight bond, like how I don't want to say like Belichick and Tom Brady, but they had an understanding like to win the game, and like even if they didn't like each other, they still like sat down at the same table and like came to an agreement of like what to do and how to execute certain things. That Kyle just relinquished that information that they don't have that. They never have that. So
No, you're right about that.
Why? I'm gonna say another few things, and then you can go ahead.
Yeah.
Why would Jimmy want to stay and play for Kyle, and they don't have that tight knit bond? Second, why are we doing Jimmy a service of like try like we tried, that was the report, to get him to a team that he preferred, and he just shot every one of them down. And then on top of that, he spit in our face to say like, oh, I'm gonna get shoulder surgery now. And it's like this man is like he's like Candyman. He's the boogeyman. He just won't go the F away.
He's Jason Voorhees.
Like what he's doing to this team is making us look so stupid. And the Niners think that we are stupid as fans, that we're just gonna take whatever they feed us and we're gonna eat it. Like I said it before, I don't like mediocre caca pasta. You know what I'm saying? Like, get Jimmy the hell out of here. You know what I'm saying? He can't. A Dolphin fan tried to come up to me today and be like, "Well, how do you feel about Jimmy going into training camp?" I'm like, I said it on a YouTuber's channel a couple months back, which was your channel. I will not watch a single game if Jimmy goes into the season on this team. I will not watch a single game. Anyone who wants to campaign with me on that tour, I'm here. We could go lead the charge, and day one of training camp, I like for if anybody like wants to take that stand with me, tweet John Lynch, get rid of Jimmy on day one of training camp if he's there still. But if you could make sense of that scenario, because I don't understand that.
Here's the other thing, right? And so this is the way that I look at it. And I said this a while back. I said if they got nothing for Jimmy, I felt like Jimmy had already earned that second round pick. Like I just being real with it, right? Second round pick for a quarterback in the NFL that starts for you or is supposed to be your starter for 5 years, that's not a lot to give up, right? So this fact that they have to recoup that in picks makes zero sense. Literally no sense because he's earned it. Regardless of whether it was him that brought them there or he was along for the ride, however you want to spin that, they made a Super Bowl. They made an NFC championship. Jimmy has earned the second round pick. They've gotten their worth out of it. So trading him now to recoup this second round, this magical second rounder or whatever it is they're trying to do, it's nonsense. It doesn't make any sense. Right now, the money should be more important to you than any pick you can get for Jimmy Garoppolo. And whether that means you want to cut him now to save 18 million or you want to wait until August to save 25 million, one way or another, this guy has to be off this roster. If you're trying to save face and pump up your ego to keep this guy here just so that you can try to get a pick out of him, I think that's nonsense, and it doesn't make any sense. I'm with you, man.
All
I'm
while
with you.
losing very important positions on the roster and not
For
recouping them in free agency
For
because
sure.
of this guy.
For sure. Yeah, you're right
You
about
let,
that.
you let go of a decent guard. I won't say a top guard, but he was decent and serviceable in Lakin, and you haven't replaced that. Like, and that's not good for both quarterbacks that you so-called want to start.
No, it's not. And by the way, we talk about the Trey Lance side of things, right? Certainly isn't fair for Trey Lance to try to come in and win over the locker room with Jimmy looking over his shoulder. It's not fair for the locker room to answer all the questions and go through another season like that. Well, let's talk about Jimmy G for a second. Talk about a slap in the face. Again, regardless of how it happened, this is a guy that went to war with a full locker room of guys, went to a Super Bowl, then an NFC championship. Now you're going to tell that guy that he has to be a backup on that same team to the kid that they brought in to replace him. That's a slap in the face, quite frankly, to Jimmy. So, like, Jimmy, if I'm looking at it and I'm Jimmy, I'm totally cool being a backup anywhere except for San Francisco. That's the one place that you can't do that to me. Like, if that is the option, I'm going to request that I be released anyways, and I'm going to go public with it, and I'm not showing up. Like, that's the way that I'm going to play that.
Okay, but was that narrative before or after he decided to get his shoulder surgery? Because
that's my narrative anyways. I don't think, like, keeping
I'm
Jimmy,
saying for, like, the team aspect. Like, did they relinquish that information before or after he decided to have shoulder surgery?
What do you mean? What, clarify that.
Like they said that he might be as a backup. Like, when did that ever, like, surface in the social media atmosphere?
Oh, I mean, it basically after the shoulder surgery, and they couldn't get rid of him. There was no trade partner.
Okay, so no, then that's his fault, because if he would have never initiated the shoulder surgery, then that report would have probably never came out.
Yeah, and that's fair, right? Like, but that's the whole point. Like, to me, I'm just cutting the dude. Like, I'm not playing the game with him. You can tell how flustered Kyle Shanahan is with the situation. You listen to him talk, and he throws out little nuggets every once in a while. Yesterday, when he's talking, he talked about, we didn't know that Jimmy was going to do this surgery. We didn't even know that was an option. Okay, that's a little bit different than what John Lynch said. John Lynch said that he knew it was an option, but even John Lynch said that we didn't communicate. Then they asked him, well, when is the last time you talked to Jimmy? Oh, we don't really talk during the offseason. You know, he always goes away. But I've been talking to Trey. Like, that right there is him telling you, I don't like this dude. Get him out of here. And the first chance we have to get him out of here, I'm going to take advantage of that. To me, I think he's being pretty clear about that.
I think both sides is making the whole situation toxic. And it's like a bunch of runarounds, and they're trying to take us for idiots, and we're not.
Yep. I agree, but you know what? And you probably didn't hear it because you haven't been around in a while. 2 days ago, I took the media to task, and I'm talking about the local San Francisco media, the ones that.
Was that Jack show or something, I think?
No, I did it on here. So this was on Monday. I called out the local media because I feel like
I
they
heard
do the
you first
fans.
say it before on your channel. I heard you say it in Spaces, I think Sunday.
Okay, so there you go, man. So that's the whole thing is right now, like to me, the media is also doing a disservice because some of these guys sit out here and they publish articles that the 49ers are doing the right thing on a regular basis. They get up there, they ask terrible questions, then their whole article is filled with quotes, the same quotes across the board. And I'm not saying everybody, there are some good journalists in 49er land, some greats, Mayoko and what have you, but a big majority of these guys do a terrible job. They don't ask great questions. And then they get smug and disrespectful. If you question the organization, they try to make you feel stupid, like you don't know what you're talking about because you're not getting paid to cover the team. It's like, no. That's not the way this works. And I don't know if you know how this works, Mr. Journalist, but I'm going to tell you what, without us, you don't exist. So you might want to chill a little bit because people aren't going to put up with that crap for too long.
If you pay attention to last season, Mayoko started off with Kyle for like I think 1 or 2 interviews, and once he asked him the quarterback controversy question, like why didn't you think to give Trey Lance or prepare him with even at least like a little bit more reps and whatnot, and like why did you use Trey Lance this way in the Cardinals game or whatever? And Matt Mayoko was looking at Kyle like, you didn't think to do XYZ, like you're the head coach. And you never saw Matt Mayoko interview him again for the rest of the season. You never saw Matt Mayoko interview him again.
I didn't pay attention to that. That's funny. Yeah, there you go.
You never saw Matt Mayoko after that again.
Yep.
It was that other, I don't remember his name, but it was the other guy, some other reporter. But yeah, man, I will not watch a single game until he's gone. I can't. It's frustrating, especially when you have better talent that's just sitting there on the bench. It's not like Jordan Love where he has to compete with Aaron Rodgers. Like I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this narrative that they keep putting out there. Like, oh, we have a situation like Joe Montana and Steve Young. No,
they do not. The hell do you do? No.
Jimmy is not a Pro Bowler. Never been to the Pro Bowl. He sat behind Tom Brady, and look how he plays. He can't read defenses, and he sat behind the best quarterback ever to play the game. And he played with probably the best coach to ever coach the game.
Yep.
Even though some people might say he's a cheater, but and he still can't read. You tell me he still can't read defenses or execute Kyle's offense in year 5?
Well, and listen, not only did he have the benefit of Belichick, but say what you want about Shanahan, however you feel about him, he certainly is one of the better offensive minds in the league at the very, very least. So you went from that to this, and you still are this inept as a quarterback. And it's not even the physical limitations with Jimmy. Like, to be honest, like people, okay, so people fall in love with the physical things that a quarterback can do, right? And that's what everybody talks about. And so the Lance naysayers say, "Oh, well, he's just another running quarterback with a big arm." It's like, no. You're not watching this guy, first of all. And Jimmy, they just assume because he's been in the league for a long time that, oh, and he's been a backup to Brady, that, oh, he's cerebral and he's a game manager. No, he's not. He's not a game manager at all. This guy, if he was a game manager, he would still be on this team. He would still be on this team because A, he would have been healthy. He wouldn't have put himself in harm's way to tear an ACL. That's one. 2, they probably would have won a Super Bowl because if Alex Smith, the game manager Alex Smith, had been on that 2019 team, that's all they needed was a guy to just make sound decisions and not turn the ball over. Jimmy is a walking mistake. That is what he does. He is a game manager skill set with a gunslinger mindset. That is the worst thing that you can have at quarterback. Jimmy is not cerebral. He's not a game manager at all. If he was, I wouldn't kill him because those limitations exist. Totally understand that. And I'm not going to kill him for physical limitations as long as he's smart about it. But he's a dummy half the time. That's where I kill him.
See, there's a difference between knowing what the defense is about to show you and throwing the ball and anticipating like how your receiver runs the route. Those are two different things. Because if a great players could they could cut that off, like Ed Reed, like how he tricked Peyton Manning. But you would think that if that Jimmy sat behind Tom Brady, was coached by Belichick, now coached by one of the arguably the brilliantest offensive mind in the league right now. And you would think with all of that, and on top of that, the talent that's surrounded by him, even more talent surrounded by him than when he was in New England. On top of that, even an elite, or somewhat to a top 5 defense. All of that stuff going good for him. And he only has one game to show for it. One. And that is the Saints game in 2019 when we went to the Super Bowl. Yep. That season. If he played like that 12 games out of the year, you wouldn't hear me say any of this. I'm not even asking for a whole 15 games at the time, or 16 games.
Yep.
If he played at least 12 games like that out of the season, throwing over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, not even 3.
Or again, to me, like, I'm cool if you're not going to be a 30 touchdown a season guy. Like, if you're a 22 to 25, then that means you got to be an 8 interception guy. You got to be a 7 interception guy. You can't be a 13 interception guy throwing 25 touchdowns while also fumbling the ball and losing a couple of those every year, like, and not getting any rushing touchdowns. So, like, the risk doesn't outweigh or like the risk doesn't outweigh the reward. Like, that's the way that it is. So, or the risk does outweigh the reward. I'm saying that backwards. So it's just not worth it anymore. Like, it's not worth it anymore.
I think we've exhausted like all the possibilities of any type of return for him, and we waited too long. Everybody's saying it. I don't know why they're pushing this narrative like he's some type of prophet, and they're just gonna strike gold, and there's like some type of rainbow just casting over their team, and then the pot of gold is right there. It's not gonna happen. I don't know what the deal is with that, and on top of that, like, I don't know, man. Like, we could have addressed the safety position. Now I don't know what's going to happen right there. Even if people don't like think Tyrann Mathieu is like at his peak anymore, I don't think so either. But the guy's still a playmaker. Like, he even if he's not as quick as he used to be, like when he was in Arizona before he went to the Chiefs. The man knows his role. He knows defenses, and he could be like Sherman. I'm not saying he probably is as good as him, but he could be like Sherman in the sense where, hey, I know I don't have my elite speed anymore, but I know the route and I'm going to beat you to the high point. Like, he could be one of those type of players where they use their cerebral instead of their physicality.
Yep. Absolutely. I'm with you, man. Hey, I got one more call I got to get to. It was good hearing from you, Jamaica boy. Hopefully in a couple weeks you can bring good news. All right.
All right, man.
All right, brother. You have a good one, man.
All right, you too.
Later. You guys are having the Wentz Jimmy G conversation, but you all said literally exactly what I was going to say. So I don't even need to address it. Will, I'm going to get to you. I was going to end the show, but I will get to you. But I'm going to hold you to the 5 minutes just because I've been on for 3 straight hours, including Grant's show. So hopefully, try to get your takes off in 5 minutes, and I'll try to remain as silent as possible so that you can do so. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing good, man. Good hearing from you.
Long time.
The audio quality is on point, by the way.
Okay, great. I got a new phone.
Did you? Nice. There you go.
Hey, just real quick, as I said in the super chat I sent, the thing that's just killing me is that Jimmy's like the guest that just won't go home at the end of the party. We just don't want the night to end, and it's just time to go. I think from what Cal said about, Jimmy's too good him and John saying Jimmy's too good a player to just get rid of. Nobody saying Jimmy's not a good player. Nobody's not saying he's not a good guy. but it's just time to go. I mean, you're actually, the longer he's with the team, it's like a rotten apple in a bunch. The longer he's with the team, the worse you see our playoff chances are. We're losing key players that I know we wouldn't have lost if Jimmy wasn't on the books. But right now they're trying to play this save face game. Honestly, I think they're doing it out of spite. I think they had a plan to unload Jimmy in the offseason that the surgery just totally caught them off guard and just disrupted their whole flow of what they were going to do. Now they're pissed. And they're really pissed at Jimmy and his agent. So they're like, okay, you want to mess us up. Matter of fact, we're going to make sure you go to no one. Or we'll make sure that wherever you go is going to be the worst team that you can go to, and you're going to be a backup. So it's just crazy. And I think I heard someone earlier today say something about, oh, well, what if they cut Jimmy, later on, and then they said about him, then Don Yee saying something about, oh, well, his thumb's hurt. So now pay him the 25, the 27 million. So he's about to have that surgery. It's just seemed like a spiteful relationship, and it's just time for both parties to just move along. I don't care if we don't get anything from Jimmy for this point. I'm just ready to recoup what we have and move forward. And that's my take.
Listen, I here's the thing is I think you speak for 99% of the fan base, man. I genuinely believe that. And it was well said. It was short, simple, to the point. I'm with you, man. They got to figure it out. And that's the unfortunate thing. If egos are playing into this, they gotta. Jimmy G's earned it. Like, he's earned the second round pick already. Don't worry about it. Again, they have a way. If they want to save that $7.5 million, wait till August till he can throw, and just simply say, "Hey, we tried to find a trade partner for Jimmy. Nothing worked out. We didn't think we were getting the value that we thought he was worth. Quite frankly, we want to do right by Jimmy Garoppolo. We're going to let him choose his next team. We owe him that. We did make a Super Bowl with this gentleman. We made an NFC championship. He was the consummate pro with his replacement coming in. We're ready to turn this team over to Trey Lance. Jimmy, we wish you the best of the luck, and go find you a new team. Here you go. We saved $25 million. You go find your new team, and that's a way that you can save face. Roll that money over, save it for next year, and double up on it. So that's the way that I see it, and I think that's ultimately the way this thing plays out, because who's going to trade for this guy at this point?
I'll say this real quick. I know Don Yee and Jimmy thought they were being real slick with the surgery and everything, but they actually shot themselves in the foot, because you know what Jimmy's supposed to be at right now, and he would have been stellar in that division over there as the new starting quarterback of the Washington Commanders. That's where Jimmy should have been.
Exactly. That was the perfect
look
fit
for him. He would have got big money, and his career would have been revamped. But this right here, right now, he just made himself look real bad, like real bad. Now teams don't trust him because that move looked like sabotage. You feel what I'm saying? So teams like, dang, if he had pulled that on them, what would he do here? I mean, it's not like you're coming off as this great quarterback with unlimited skills. I mean, everybody knows your skill set, but people are still willing to take a chance on you because they're just trying. Really, some of these coaches are just trying to have a winning season. They're not looking for Super Bowl. They're just like, hey, come win some games for us. You know, you're a Band-Aid. We all know what you are. You know what you are. Just get your money and just, go into the sunset gracefully. But Jimmy and his agent got him thinking, no, you are better than Tom Brady. See, that's the question nobody has asked Jimmy. When Jimmy first said that he was better than Tom Brady, nobody has asked Jimmy now, do you still think you're better than Tom Brady?
Right. Right. Because that was the remember when the Patriots wanted to get rid of Tom Brady for Jimmy Garoppolo? Remember that when that was a thing? Isn't that funny to think about that now? All these years later, when Tom Brady's still playing, I mean, had the most passing yards he's ever had in a single season at 43 or whatever he is, 44 years old. And Jimmy G's about to be a backup somewhere. Like it's crazy to think about that, right? And one's 45 and one's 30, 31. So there you go.
Hey, but I appreciate the time. Haven't been on in a while. Just wanted to catch up with you, see how everything's going, and keep up the good work, man. Keep doing your thing.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Bless you, man. Thank you so much for calling in. Thank you so much for the support. And call in. Don't be a stranger. Get in earlier next week if you can, and we'll give you more time. All right.
All right, man. You have a good
Later.
One. Good night, faithful.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. All right. Let me switch this banner over real quick. There we go. As always, hell of a call-in show. You guys always carry 2+ hours on the channel every single week. Appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for the support, guys. I think we're less than 30 away at this point from 5,000. So if you are watching and you are not subscribed, it would mean the world to me if you can help me get to that 5,000. And if you are subscribed and you do like the content, tell your friends, tell your sisters, your brothers, your moms, your daddies, your aunties, your uncles, whoever, your bosses, your employees, whoever you can. They're 49er fans. Tell them to tap in. Appreciate all of you. Have a blessed night. And I'll be back tomorrow with Jack Hammer and then also with my co-host here on Last Second Sports, talking 49ers and Detroit Lions football. Appreciate y'all. Have a great night. Peace.